Welcome back to Beyond the Curve. I have some great and exciting videos for you today. Don't forget to open your mind so you can see the truth in plain sight, see through the lies. Hit that like button, share, comment, and subscribe. And let's do it. They're everywhere.
The looking ones, maybe we call it reptilians, their hands were really thick digits, 4 fingers.
There is another cast of reptilians that actually have more of a humanoid features. So they don't have the long snout. They're not what you call your stereotypical reptilians, but they have some scales. They look almost like humanoid hybrid reptilian beings. Currently on Earth, there's still reptilian factions that have control of the Earth governments and the Earth religious sectors. These beings are maybe human in appearance, but some of them are full reptilians and some of them are reptilian hybrids. When I talk about full reptilians that appear humans, I'm talking about shape-shifting reptilians. So reptilians have the ability to shapeshift, to look like something that they're not. So they're masters of deception and they're masters of disguise. They do it energetically. It is actually kind of a physical energetic transformation where they put on a shell that looks kind of a human shell, but they can't sustain it for very long, so they do it for short periods of time.
The ability to change appearance or shapeshift from reptilian to the human form is understood from a variety of perspectives. Whether it is mind control, thought projection, technologies, or frequencies, they're all possible explanations offered by various researchers to make sense of the phenomenon.
They do not need to shape shift physically to look like a human, to impersonate a world leader or something like that. Their body does not morph. It looks the same as it always did. When they shape shift, what they're doing is using neural engagement capabilities to make the person that's in front of them see a different thing. So they can look to that person as a male, a female, a human, like normal, but the neural engagement is doing that. Their physical form is actually still the same.
I think that is so true. I think some of them actually do shapeshift certain things, but most of it's done through frequencies and technology. All the people you see on TV, the media, the news, the movie stars, they're using technology. And then face to face, if you're in front of one out in the world, I think it just projects in your head what it wants you to see. But if you have good discernment, you can see right through the ruse of disguise. And if you're awake and you're not asleep like these NPCs and people walking around, it doesn't work on you. So that's what I think.
You know, former palace staff claim they witnessed members of the British royal family physically transform into reptilian beings during private ceremonies. According to unverified conspiracy theories, multiple witnesses describe seeing skin texture changes and vertical pupil dilation during secret rituals. These alleged testimonies suggest an ancient bloodline dating back thousands of years to non-human species. Theorists claim this reptilian elite has maintained control through careful interbreeding and genetic preservation across generations. Supposed photographic evidence shows unusual eye movements and skin patterns during public appearances, though experts dismiss these as lighting effects. Former security personnel allegedly report witnessing shapeshifting during closed-door meetings at Buckingham Palace. Conspiracy theorists argue this explains certain political decisions and social engineering programs that seem to work against human interests. The theory suggests these beings maintain human disguises to control Earth's population through governmental and financial institutions. If true, it would mean our leaders aren't even the same species as those they govern. Pure speculation. But it makes you wonder who's really pulling the strings.
Makes sense that the rulers of this world would be reptilians, a different species, seed of the serpent, demons. I mean, one of the first signs of spotting a reptilian is their cold demeanor. They don't seem to care about anything or anyone. So it makes sense to.
They look human, but something's off. According to multiple researchers and declassified reports, reptilian infiltrators have been described with 4 subtle tells. First, the eyes, unblinking, cold, sometimes a slit-like pupil that seems to flicker under certain light. Second, the energy. People describe a strange emotional flatness, like talking to someone wearing a mask. Third, sudden aggression. When threatened, they shift tone unnaturally fast, like a system glitch. And fourth, distorted memories. Those who've interacted with alleged reptilians often recall things differently days later, as if time was rewritten. Whistleblower accounts say these beings are placed in media, politics, even local government. And the scariest part? They don't need to shapeshift anymore. We've been conditioned not to see them. Next, I'll show you the secret reptilian network map leaked in 2017. Follow
Kininigan, 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 Zen, Uru. And so it is.
Did you know this? You've been programmed to think bells are just background noise, quaint church music, or old school alarm clocks. But in ancient times, bells were power, bells were protection, bells were weapons of spiritual warfare. Let's go deeper. The Draconians, those who walk among us cloaked in human flesh, can't stand the sound of bells. And I'm not talking about fairy tales. I'm talking about those interdimensional reptilian entities that feed off fear, chaos, and low vibrations. You ever wonder why fear is constantly pumped through the news? Why stress is normalized? It's because that energy feeds them. But the sound of bells? It cuts through that frequency like a sword of light. The moment that bell rings, their illusion trembles. It triggers something primal in them. Fear, pain, rage, and they run. Not walk, run. Why? Because the vibration of bells pierces through dimensions. It breaks the matrix code. It realigns energy. It's like sound technology gifted to our ancestors to disrupt entities that don't belong here. Look around you. Why you think they took bells out of schools, out of cities? Why churches are turning quiet? Why your kids don't even know what a church bell sounds like anymore? Because they're silencing our ancient alarm system. They want us deaf to the energies that are trying to control us. They want us blind to the truth, disconnected from the old frequencies that kept these entities in check. Now look at the timing. Look at the push for silence. Meditation without sound. Yoga without mantras. Churches without choirs. Streets with no sound but sirens. They're not promoting peace. They're promoting vulnerability. They know the truth, and they're hoping you never remember it. So the next time you hear a bell, don't just hear it, feel it. That's the sound of a frequency they can't fake. That's the vibration of truth. That's the alarm clock for your soul. Because when bells ring, the system shakes. You're not just waking up, you're remembering. Share this. Tag someone still asleep.
Bells break the frequency. It shows their disguise. It stops them from putting things in our minds. It stops them from controlling us. Maybe we should all walk around with our bell in our pocket and periodically shake it just to see if our realities change.
John McCain's mistress from back in the day. 14 years ago, this video was made from CBS. Okay? Now, this is McCain's mistress, like I said. Look at her throat. Almost 2 lumps. Now, watch this. See the two lumps? Wow. See that? 2 lumps. Now wait, watch this. Doesn't she look weird already? Look at her pupil. She's fucking straight up reptilian lizard.
Wow.
That's the real thing. Look at her throat.
I don't want to.
This is just crazy.
Yeah.
Look at, man.
Sick.
That's not CG.
They have built a conservatory. They have built a conservatory for paradise.
Come on, you freaky faced fucker.
I'll go to the new conservatory. Take me with you, please.
Every once in a while, something goes our way. Just 1 in 1,000. Just enough to keep fighting. A glimmer of hope. And now, we're no more than pests. Vermin. They came here to exterminate us. They're building some kind of breeding facility for those that survive. People that have defected say it's worse than hell. Humans becoming some kind of surrogate incubators for the alien young.
Oh, hell nah.
Police say Gentry told them he tried to kill his father because a, quote, shape-shifting reptile had taken over. Isaiah Gentry is accused of hitting his dad in the head with a statue before stabbing him 20 times with a steak knife.
Imagine that. This stuff really happens. Reptilians are real. Reptilians are everywhere. It's insane.
In mid-October of 1964, kissing cousins Elizabeth and Philip paid a royal visit to a Catholic residential school for Aboriginal children in Kamloops, British Columbia, Canada. William Coombs was 12 years old at the time of the royal visit. "I was an inmate at the Kamloops school when we were visited," said Coombs. "I remember it was strange because they came by themselves, no big fanfare or nothing. But I recognized them, and the school principal told us it was the Queen, and we all got given new clothes and good food for the first time in months the day before she arrived. The day the Queen got to the school, I was part of a group of kids that went on a picnic with her and her husband and some of the priests. We went down to a meadow near Dead Man's Creek. I remember it was weird because we all had to bend down and kiss her foot, and she was wearing a white lace boot. After a while, I saw the Queen and her husband leave the picnic with 10 children from the school, and those kids never returned. They took away those 10 kids and nobody ever saw them again. We never heard anything more about them, and we never met them again even when we were older. They were all from around there, but they all vanished." The group that disappeared was 7 boys and 3 girls in age from 6 to 14 years old. They were all from the smart group in the class. 2 of the boys were brothers, and they were Matey from Quesnel. Their last name was Arnoux, or Arnold. I don't remember the others. just an occasional first name like Cecilia, and there was an Edward. What happened was also witnessed by my friend, George Adolph, who was 11 years old at the time and a student there too. But he's dead now. William Coombs, the sole survivor, was scheduled to appear as the star witness at the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State in London, England. But William Coombs never made it to the tribunal. He died of unknown causes shortly before he was scheduled to testify. Reverend Kevin Annett, a former minister of the United Church of Canada, believes that William Coombs was murdered to stop him from speaking out about the royal abductions and other crimes of murder and torture that he had witnessed at the school.
In a nutshell, what happened was I was letting people speak from the pulpit about the crimes they'd seen in the residential school, the murders and that. I also found out about the land deals that were happening where the church was selling off native land to big logging companies for kickbacks. And I wrote a letter about that to the church. I was fired without cause and eventually thrown out of the church without any due process at all. But that one thing led to another, and I began to work a lot more with the survivors after that, the eyewitnesses to these crimes.
Do you think those 10 children were possibly the Queen's lunch? I mean, they were on a picnic. They got to eat.
Devastating discovery has been made in Canada. The remains of 215 children have been found buried at the site of a former boarding school for Indigenous students. The school in British Columbia was part of a nationwide scheme that took in First Nations children in an effort to assimilate them into Canadian society. Investigations have shown there was widespread abuse.
In mid-October of 1964, kissing cousins Elizabeth and Philip paid a royal visit to a Catholic residential school for Aboriginal children in Kamloops, British Columbia, Canada. William Coombs was 12 years old at the time of the royal visit. "I was an inmate at the Kamloops school when we were visited," said Coombs. "I remember it was strange because they came by themselves, no big fanfare or nothing. But I recognized them, and the school principal told us it was the Queen. And we all got given new clothes and good food for the first time in months the day before she arrived."
First time they were given clean clothes and good food in a long time. I guess they had to try to sweeten them up for the royals.
This is a statue of a Draconian king. You may or may not have seen it before, but I've had this photo for a few years. I'm not 100% sure where I found it. I believe it was on YouTube. Took a screenshot of a thumbnail. And of course anyone would be justified to question its validity. I wanted to see if I could find it again so I could learn more about it. But there doesn't seem to be a trace of it left anywhere. I even attempted to use Google Lens to do an image search. To no avail. I still came up empty-handed. Nothing but a bunch of AI art and 3D printed garbage. It really makes me wonder if there might be some validity to it, because it seems to have been completely scrubbed from the internet. It also makes me wonder if there's a deeper hidden agenda to all this AI art and plastic printed paraphernalia. It's almost as if they're trying to use it as a covert tool to cover up genuine search results by flooding the internet with so much trash you can't see through it. But that's just a speculative side note. That's not what this video is about. The real reason I'm sharing this statue with you is because despite their best efforts to sanitize the entirety of the World Wide Web, they don't have the power to cleanse the ethers or the Akashic records. And whether they like it or not, I found confirmation. I uncovered something very interesting and strikingly similar in one of my mirror scrying sessions. Nothing too fancy, no bunch of crystals, no black mirror, no crystal ball, just a small, scratched up piece of a mirror that I found when I was walking down the road. In person, it's maybe an inch long. I took a photo of it, and my intuition led me to mirror the mirror. This is what came out. Let's take a closer look. Now remember, this is a completely unedited image. I haven't done anything to it at all, other than the mirroring. I'm not trying to fool anybody here. There's no AI fakery or any of that. And I didn't mirror it from any specific point to make it look like anything in particular. It's completely random. Now, with that being said, can you already see why I would feel the need to emphasize that? Well, I see a lot of different things in this image, depending on where and which layers you decide to focus your eyes on. And first of all, it really reminds me of a cymatic pattern. And just in case you don't know, cymatics is when you use sound waves to create geometric patterns in water or sand or any other suitable medium. It's pretty cool. It's a whole other subject. It's not what this is, it's just what it visually reminds me of. But instead of perfectly symmetrical geometric patterns, it's like the frequency is creating a face as the dominant feature. Do you see what I see? If you're still having trouble, let me go ahead and dim the background for you. Pretty remarkable, huh? Now I put a couple little dots for the eyes, just to make them darker, but they were already there. Again, other than that, there's no editing here. This is just what spontaneously came through. This is what I like to refer to as space-age scrying. No third eye required. You only need your real eyes to realize. A blend of technology and spirituality, so that it can be seen and shared, rather than simply spoken about. Just look and judge for yourself. At that point, I don't care who thinks I'm full of it. It is what it is. Denial is a river in Egypt. If you can believe that this is just a coincidence, well, then you have my sympathy. Now, what does that have to do with our apparent statue of a Draconian king? Well, side-by-side comparison reveals an uncanny resemblance, wouldn't you say? And by the way, if you don't know what a Draconian is, they're more commonly referred to as the Reptilians. Now, I'm not saying these are the exact same figures, but clearly they're the same species or race. Just look at the details, the scaly appearance, similar sized lips, similar shaped nose. They even both bear similar vertical markings on the chin, just below the bottom lip. Even their necks are a clear match. Now, whether or not you would call this proof enough to say these otherworldly beings exist, in my opinion, it's pretty damn undeniable.
The Draconians are here now. Where there are 1,833 of them that have been living underground between 100 and 200 miles beneath the surface. They've been here, some of them have been here a long, long time. They have lifespans that are thousands of years. They're carnivorous. They are not friendly to mankind, at least the ones that are here. Are you saying carnivorous, they eat humans? Yes. And they won't eat a dead human. It has to be alive at the time of the killing. Their preference is children.
If this is truly the case, it would explain where a good portion of the missing children go and how so many children vanish each year without a cause.
And we've been told, people say, well, you better not talk about the reptilians. Well, bull. Why not? According to the Andromedans, they're responsible for 31,712 children disappearing in the last 25 years from the United States. You're not supposed to just shut up and not say anything about it because people don't want to hear it? That's tough. Westchester County, in the last 5 years, 3,000 children in Westchester County, New York, have vanished without a trace. Where are they going? Why are we allowing this to happen? Why should people stay in denial about it?
Now, how are they able to do it? How are they able to come up out of this from underground?
Tunneling systems everywhere. They're being helped by the Greys, and also there are groups within the higher echelon that are actually helping them acquire this.
So human beings are abducting the kids and giving them to the Greys, who in turn give them to the Alpha Draconians?
That's right. That's part of the deal. They won't come up as long as we feed them down there.
Now look at this. Now look at this. Now look at this.
Look what's coming out of the back of it in color. 5 separate gases coming out of this reptilian tanker, dropping 5 gases at 300 feet. You're smoking their gas today because they dropped this gas only on technically advancing communities on the planet. Okay? Every 4 to 6 weeks. So you could be getting it today. Not one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They didn't see it because everybody's minds are controlled to not see it, just like a stealth system. So the commander of this squadron made sure that that stealth was turned on. He forgot to turn on the stealth that prevents the camera from photographing it. The reason you don't see these, they're flying all over us. There's hundreds of them. There's thousands of them every single day on your planet. They're dropping the gas. So your mind is being controlled and you don't function normally or how you should function. We are being mind controlled, not for the last couple of weeks, but for thousands of years.
It's not hard to decipher what these are. What you call reptilians, I call fallen angels. In fact, did you notice that Satan is mentioned as a serpent in the book of Revelation? Yeah, he's called the dragon. Did you know that the seraph are referenced as fiery serpents and some of the angels fell, which could have included seraph, which would have included fallen, fiery serpent-like angels? So whenever people say that people that believe that this stuff is real is crazy, they're wrong. They're angelic, they're not the almighty. Some are princes, some are powers, rulers of wickedness in heavenly places, as the Apostle Paul said. These are interdimensional and they're very real. They're satanic in nature, though. If you like content like this, follow for more. For those of you that are looking for promos on the cheaper side for your business, page, or music or whatever, I'm running some deals. You can.
I would 100% agree with that. Fallen angels, seed of the serpent, they're not from outer space. They're demonic. They're evil. If you're a fallen angel, you're evil. If you're come from the seed of the serpent himself, you're evil.
This is a game? Y'all think this is a game? This is who our enemies are, right here. See that? They're half-breed reptilian races. Draco and reptilians are different races. These are the ones that we have been taking out.
Is the Draconian Codex and culture. Let's get into it. Now, let's start with the Dark Draconians. They live in complete service to self with the ideology that if the individual is taken care of, then the collective will be taken care of and better off. But this resulted in taking what you want even at the expense of others. Fear is candy to them. Love is weakness. Deception, malice, and hate. This is what they live by. They live farthest away from consciousness as they want to be separate from source or the creator, as they believe this is true freedom, power, and strength. They believe that they're meant to be rulers of the universe and typically take over planets and take the populace either as slaves or a food source. And this has resulted in millions of years of wars, started in Lyra where the humans versus reptilians trope started. Deception is key to them, and they like to take over planets from the inside. And by the
a lot of truth in that, but millions of years and take over planets and all that bull crap. There's a firmament above your head. They come from fallen angels, Nephilim, seed of the serpent. There's no such thing as millions of years or take over other planets. Maybe take over other worlds beyond the ice wall.
There are different blood types. Stick with me. I'm about to show you why. Before we get started, let me just say this. I might be about to really trigger some people. So if you feel like you want to get real disrespectful, go ahead and scroll now because I would really dislike if you were in the comments arguing with yourself. Only time people feel they need to argue is when they feel they need to prove themselves. I'm not doing that for anybody. Well, that is, of course, outside of what I'm about to show y'all right now. So before I get y'all the facts, let me make some things make sense to y'all through symbolism. Y'all know how in the music industry there's some rap beefs going on, particularly everybody teaming up against Drake, right? Drake is also associated with Draco, Draco being Draconian, Draconian being a reptilian. Okay, so now keep that in mind. Now think about the dragon that was on the Empire State Building not too long ago. And everybody was like, oh, that was just for a movie promo. Remember, everything is symbolism. Well, let's just say this. In my mind, TikTok, everything is symbolism. For those who don't know, Draco in Latin means dragon. If you've seen any of my previous videos talking about the sun being God, then you are familiar with the concept of the feathered serpent. The feathered serpent is the creator of the monotheistic system, the Atlanteans, Sumerians, and Lumerian, aka the copper colored people, aka black people, so-called black people. Just hold on, I told y'all I'm gonna make it make sense. Now you have a brotherhood of the Dracos, aka the dragons, and the feathered serpents. Mythology, the serpent represents many different things, but the serpent also represents the copper color race, also referred to as the Naga serpent. You may have heard the Naga people. This is how the derogatory term for black people came about. They changed it from Naga to y'all know the rest. Okay, so with all that being said, with us knowing who wrote the Bible, does it now make sense as to why the serpent was depicted as evil? Serpent represents immortality, aka black don't crack. That's why you always hear that term. Way back in the day, the Anunnaki gods used to walk amongst the ones depicted as the serpents. They began merging DNA. Let me say this. Copper colored people have DEA, deoxyetheric acid. All other races have DNA, oxyribonucleic acid. These molecules in our cells contain genetic information about us. This is where blood types come into play because the Rh negative blood is said to be reptilian blood. Anunnaki gods started interbreeding with the copper colored race, aka the feathered serpent people. So in my previous video, when I talked about Elohim, aka many gods, this is what I was referring to. You had many Anunnaki gods that were creating different species or different races of people. Hence the reason for different blood types. Now bringing it back to the symbolism, especially in the music industry, this is where the they not like us come into play. They not like us can be interpreted many different ways. It can be interpreted on a scientific level, on an esoteric metaphysical level, or on a physical level. So to bring it full circle, in the Bible, when they talked about being created in God's image, they were talking about mankind, a kind of man. Copper colored people are considered sons of God, God's son, because we are the people of the sun. When the Anunnaki merged or interbreeded with the copper colored race and created other races, that is where that Bible verse comes into play. You were created in our image, which means that you have us within you. So to answer everybody's question who's been DMing me and also putting it in my comments, did every race start off as black? No. Does every race have black within them? Yes. So-called black. Yes, because of eugenics. Now that we have all this cleared up, I'm going to go ahead and play a clip by B-Dell, who I love listening to. He's going to break down who's really running the show. It's just when you think you know, you have no idea. Because trust me, when I found this out, I was flabbergasted. Before I play this clip, though, I think it's important to know, if you haven't...
Well, that's one take on it. I have a different take on it. The Anunnaki are nothing more than fallen angels, the demigods that all these other religions talk about. They're not the God. There's one God. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost are one. Jesus is God manifest in the flesh. And when they talk about man made in their image, the image is not a skin color or a race. It's mind, body, and spirit in one. God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's what they're talking about.
Really? I mean, have you been on the internet? People are out there saying that we're ruled by giant lizards and that Elvis is alive. You can't think of anything crazier?
And it could be a drone. However, if we watch the video once or twice, this object isn't moving at all. Now I have searched the internet for
You gotta be kidding me.
He's real, Blade. This is a piece of his armor. We were able to extrapolate a basic idea of what this fucker looked like. Check this out. Dracula's only one of the names he's gone by. The Babylonians worshipped him as Dagon, and now they call him Drake. If you believe in the legends, he was born in ancient Sumeria. Nobody really knows the specifics of his origin, but we do know this. He was the first of his kind. The patriarch of Hominis Nocturna. He was born perfect. And just like the great white shark, this guy has never had to evolve. Forget the movies, forget the books. There's no happy ending with this guy. He's been there, moving behind the scenes, cutting a bloody fucking path through the ages until suddenly, just like that, he up and disappeared. Some say he'd been sleeping through the ages, that he'd retreated from a world he'd become disgusted with. And according to our information, they found him in Iraq about 6 months ago. And he was pissed.
If I were to have a child, children.
Let's say if you were to have had a child for 10 years.
As not only as an entertainer, but as a person who cared a lot, and I gave the best that I could, and I tried to be the best role model that I possibly could, and the best person I could. I tried to help out. If I were to have a child, children.
Let's say if you were to have had a child 10 years.
As not only as an entertainer, but as a person who cared a lot, and I gave the best that I could, and I tried to be the best role model that I possibly could, and the best person I could. I tried to help out.
And as soon as they saw me, they came bounding over. And as soon as they saw me, they came bounding over.
Well, those are the videos I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope they enlightened you a little bit on reptilians and how they work and operate. And if we still had the bells, we could protect ourselves. They're literally everywhere. They're in show business. They're in Walmart. They're at the Tractor Supply. They're at the bank. They're literally everywhere. They're most likely the governments of the world. And then if it's not them, then they're the puppets and they're behind them. So please hit that like button, share, comment, subscribe. And I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.